anniversary of my bar mitzvah. It means in the wilderness, and it's the opening of the book of Bamidbar, which you may also know as the book of Numbers. It opens with a statement that it is now the first day of the second month, the month of Iyar, and the second year since leaving Egypt, and Bnei Israel is Midbar in the wilderness. This is known as the book of Numbers as well because of all the numberings that happen in it. I'm going to discuss the Parsha in terms of sentences taken within the Torah. The first one is described in chapter 1, and it's ordered by God, in which he instructs Moses to get a head count of all the people who would be eligible for Moses. The qualifications are that they be male, 20 years old and up. God also designates specifically by name which prince of each tribe is to assist with the counting. Now, the numbering is rather detailed. The names are listed individually, and a good 23 verses or so is devoted to giving repetitive lists of each tribe, tribal head, and the number of men that fit the qualifications. Though those details may not seem relevant, the broad thought is that what Hashem wants to be done a certain way, he makes sure we know what it is. He is specific as to the details involved, much as he was specific as to whom he wanted to do the craftsmanship for the tabernacle. In all, the total number of army recruits from all the tribes minus one as to 603,550. Now, the evenness of this amount suggests that there's some rounding involved, and we'll talk about that soon. The one tribe not included in the army count is that the tribe is of Levi, and their job is to care for the tabernacle, to transport it whenever Bnei Israel moves. And this duty is considered so sacred that non-Levites are warned not even to come near the tabernacle, because anyone. In the second chapter, the camping positions of the tribes are enumerated around the tabernacle, and Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun come to the east, and they advanced first. Next, Reuben, Shimon, and Gad, who camp on the south side, and the Levite division, there are three of them, move carrying the tabernacle with its holy items and implements. After them go the western division of Ephraim, Manasseh, Benjamin, and lastly the north division of Dan, Asher, and Naphtali. So the visual picture here is that Hashem is literally and physically in the midst of two tribes in front, two tribes behind, and the Levites camp around the tabernacle. Bnei Israel must have been keenly aware and comforted by the knowledge of God's presence. Can we say the same for ourselves today when we don't have that visual reminder? In chapter 3, we look at the second census, which concerns the Levite families and their livestock. The sons of Levi were Gershon, Kohath, and Merari, and their descendants are dedicated entirely to Aaron and his sons, the two that are still alive, because you will remember that Nadav and Abihu were killed after they offered strange fire. On the first day of the service, they leave Aaron with the remaining sons, Eleazar and Ithamar, and it is to them that the Levites are dedicated. According to chapter 3, verse 12 to 13, God says, "See, I have taken the Levites from among Bnei Israel in place of the firstborn who opened the womb among Bnei Israel. The Levites will be mine, because all the firstborn are mine. In the day when I was striking down all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, I consecrated to myself every firstborn in Israel, whether man or animal, as mine. I am Adonai." And so a census is taken of the Levites, the livestock, but only human figures are recorded. All male Levites 1 month old and up are counted, and the individual families of Gershon, Kohath, and Merari are counted, and the totals are 7,500, 8,600, and 6,200 respectively, all of which sums to 22,300. But later on in the chapter, when a summary of the results is given, the figure is rounded down to 22,000, so from 22,300. So this may not seem like a noticeable detail, but according to some scholars, this is actually quite important. The problem is that the census is taken of the non-Levite firstborn males 1 month old and up, and they are total 22,273. And when we compare the totals, we would have more Levites, 22,300, than non-Levites, 22,273. But Torah records that God takes the rounded down number of 22,000 Levites against the number of non-Levite males, and declares that there are now in fact more non-Levites than Levites instead of the other way around. To be exact, by this reckoning, there are 273 firstborn in excess of the Levites, who must be redeemed by contributing 5 shekels each, for a total of 1,365 shekels, which is given to Aaron and his sons. Now, that was a lot of math. And we come to shul not to be doing math. So what is the picture here? Why is this important? Well, sometimes we take a little situation like this, and the apparent discrepancy, we might think maybe the Bible isn't accurate and it can't be trusted. I mean, if God can't even do math. But the fact that the totals are rounded up or down is for simplicity's sake, and it doesn't take away from the fact that Hashem wanted to do a one-to-one comparison of the Levite males to firstborn non-Levite males, because that is how he ordered it, and it is always for our good. We can never fully understand God because we are not God, but he knows the number of hairs on our head, so he knows about the 273 souls that still needed to be redeemed. And in his mercy, he made provision for it. The other interesting thing that might strike us is how the roles were assigned, because it's rather different from today. Today, we look to kind of have everyone have equal opportunities. Wherever you're born, our goal is for societies that you have social mobility. You could end up wherever. But here, how the roles were assigned was decided largely by factors the individuals could not control, to which tribe they were born, the order of birth, and things like that. So what does this tell you? Well, it tells you that God, in a way, destined them from birth for certain roles. And if we consider ourselves that way, that God has plans for our lives, we won't be doing things like fretting about not having someone else's life, and we'll be content to live our life and to serve the purpose we were given. Now, in the last chapter, chapter 4, we're given details on the correct way to prepare the sanctuary to move. The Levite clan specifically is tasked with this endeavor, and so are the Kohathites. And specifically the Kohathites. And another census is taken of the Kohathite males, this time between ages 30 and 50, and they're instructed on how to take care of the holy things. Details are given on how the holy things are to be covered, what color cloth or skins to be used, and in what order the different colors are to be laid on, and so forth. So the sanctuary and its items are Kodesh, and we are to treat them as Kodesh. Several times in this parasha, Bnei Israel is warned that if any non-Levite goes near the sanctuary, they must be put to death, or in some cases, God would put them to death. In the case of the Kohathites, they were allowed to carry the holy implements, but they were not allowed to look on them, not even for a moment. Torah says, in fact, God was so desirous that the sons of Kohath not die as a result of not being careful enough that he instructs Aaron and his sons to first go into the sanctuary and assign each person a specific job and responsibility. So, in a sense, we don't have that same regard for the holiness of Adonai because we're not instantly zapped if we do an unholy thing. In those days, things were more easily recognized because they were in your face. Though we do have a society that can allow us to satisfy our wants more instantaneously, we don't have instant consequences for our wrongdoings, and so we don't immediately have that feedback to tell us that what we're doing is wrong. Now, this week's portion ends right there, but there's another thing to think about in terms of where this parsha comes in the order of readings, and it's always read soon before Shavuot. Shavuot starts this evening at sundown. Now, Shavuot is, of course, where we celebrate the giving of the Torah. And so the rabbis have looked for connections between Bamidbar being the portion here and Shavuot being the thing immediately following. And there are a couple of theories. One of the theories is that in the rabbinic text, Mechilta, is that the Torah was given in an open land that at that time belonged to no one. And so it illustrates that the Torah was for anyone who wanted to come and accept it. Another possible theory is that it was given in the desert where they were away from other civilizations and quieter, free of distractions, so they could really listen to the Lord.